The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, hi everybody. My name is Kai, and we're about to start our webinar for iClone6. Welcome everybody. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I'm going to be introducing you to iClone6, and we're going to be talking about how to create some cool scenes with iClone. So we're going to talk about stuff like, creating, assigning materials and aligning materials together and combining everything to create your own scene. And I'm going to be showing you that at the end of the live demo. But first of all, we're going to go through a quick PowerPoint where I'm going to be introducing you to iClone, what it's all about, what you can do with it, and everything like that, because it seems like most of you are not super familiar with iClone, so I'd like to give you a brief introduction to that first. So we also have a Q&A session at the end of our live demo as well. So if you have any questions about anything Reallusion, iClone, Crazy Talk related, feel free to ask me in the questions section. You can just open that up in your GoToWebinar panel, type in your question, and I'll get to the questions at the end of this presentation. And at the end of the presentation, we're also going to be sending out a survey. So if you complete that survey and send it back to us, you will all get a training DVD, I believe, from the team as well. We'll send an email and we'll send out this PowerPoint to you as well. So if you have any questions about the PowerPoint, you can review it on your own time as well. Let's get started first with the product intro. So iClone, what is it? First of all, iClone's a real-time 3D animation tool. 3D animation is iClone's strong point, and it includes a number of digital actors, virtual environments, all kinds of animation tools like runtime puppeteering. There's a powerful physics engine using NVIDIA physics. We'll talk more about that later. And there's a number of different plugins, including the Indigo and Substance plugins, which I'll talk about later as well. The basic thing about iClone is it's ideal for beginners and professionals. So whether or not you have any experience in animation or in CG, if you just want to tell your story in a visual medium, iClone is perfect for you because iClone has a super easy learning curve. We have tons and tons of tutorials on our YouTube channel, which you can check out, narrated by yours truly. And if you have any questions, you can, of course, email me, developer@reallusion.com. All right, so that's pretty much iClone. Let's talk about the key benefits of iClone. Cinematic editing as a flexible and handy interface for storytelling and production. I'll show you more about that later, so we don't want to spend too much time on this. Ultra-realistic rendering. That is thanks to the Indigo plugin, which is a photorealistic render engine, which iClone has a plugin for. And you can check out our tutorials on our YouTube channel for more information on that. We're not going to cover Indigo in this tutorial, or in this webinar rather. We also have character design. You can customize and modify your characters. You can do facial photo fitting, which is one of the cool features of iClone. So you can take a photo of yourself and map it to a 3D model's head, which is one of the cool other features. Authentic animation. Animation for me is one of the biggest selling points of iClone because it's one of the fastest animation engines out there. You can get your stuff done really quickly. There's also dynamic materials. Thanks to the Substance material plugin that is included with iClone, you're able to modify Substance materials, and those are procedural materials as well, so you can keyframe all sorts of different properties. And physics simulation, thanks with the NVIDIA physics engine, is one of the best physics engines out there right now. We also have expandable content, which I'll talk about later. We have all kinds of stuff you can buy, and these are just basically a couple of the powerful plugins. So like I mentioned, Substance. We also have speed trees, so if you're familiar with Unity or something like that, we use speed trees within iClone, which are very cool and realistic trees, which I'll show you later on as well. So let's talk about what's new in iClone. Whoops. Ultra-realistic renders. So I talked about Indigo, which is the photorealistic render engine, and you can see the difference between the renders in iClone and Indigo. So if you want ultra-realistic renders, you can go and look into the Indigo stuff as well. And there's real-time surface smoothing. If you pay attention to the edge of this ogre's shoulder there, you can see there's a bit of smoothing out, and iClone does this in real time, which is really nice, really neat. And there's also tessellation thanks to DirectX 11. So you can add displacement maps to your props, and you can create all sorts of different textures and appearances. It'll modify the geometry of your prop by using these different maps. That's also to do with vector displacement, which you can see right here. So on the left, that is the basic model in ZBrush. And then you add those displacement maps, and then you get detailed stuff like this guy on the right, and that'll show up in iClone. We'll have this guy in the scene later on as well. Visual enhancement, so we have object-oriented constraints with the physics engine, so you can constrain all sorts of stuff. We won't talk about that, it's a little bit more complicated. Usability, so flexible and dockable UI, which is pretty awesome, and we'll talk more about that later. I'll show you most of this stuff in a live demo, so it's better to actually show you than just to tell you. We also have the timeline, a brand new timeline, which is pretty cool. We have all sorts of different functionality. You're probably looking at this image and like, what the? But it's pretty simple, and we have tutorials that cover all the timeline stuff in the our YouTube channel. So G6 characters as well. We have a new type of character. You can see our friends Heidi and Mason right there, looking pretty cool. And we also have the speed tree technology, which I talked about. And you can see trees will be swaying in the wind. And we'll show you that later as well. Now the substance materials is another thing we'll show later, so you can kind of skip through this here. The Sky tool is another cool plug-in tool that's included with your copy of iClone6, and you can mess around with this. I'll show you a little bit about this later on if we have time at the end of the live demo. So who uses iClone? These people here use iClone. We have movie makers using iClone, whether it be for professional production to previs. We also have business people using iClone. It's a very fast and efficient program to use for product demos or training or anything like that. Education, teachers also use it a lot. We have a lot of teachers who use it around the world to introduce their students to 3D animation and 2D animation in the case of Crazy Talk Animator. Web media as well. You can create 3D animation for the web really fast. Content development, so you can create, buy and sell your own content in our marketplace and content store, which I can show you later as well. And then video production, basically. So here's a couple of examples of people who are using iClone. This is Andre Peisker from Germany. He has some really good examples. I'd recommend, there's a link on this PowerPoint. When we send it to you, you can click the link and check out his stuff. Very realistic, as you can see down in the images below there. We also have Realm Pictures from the UK who's using iClone for previs, and they were on BBC showing the previs capabilities of iClone. And then for feature productions as well. This is by one of our friends, James Martin. He did all the animation in this Plato's Reality Machine, a production based in New York City. And you can see the IMDb profile on the right-hand side there. We also have the Zervin Club. So if you want to use it for graphic novels, this is a great tool for creating graphic novels as well, because you can place everything in a 3D environment and then just take 2D renders and render them out and assemble them into a graphic novel. We also have education as well. John Gress, who's using iClone in a video game capacity, in addition to John Weinbrand here, forgot his name. John Weinbrand's using at the National Film and Television School in the UK, and you can click on these links again in the PowerPoint, and there's a lot of really cool stuff that you can check out. Bohan Brobora is a guy from, I think, Yugoslavia, and he's using it for in combination with Unity to create some really cool looking effects as well in his video games. So awards and testimonials, yada yada. There's some stuff from PC Magazine, all that stuff. Also, Jimmy Kimmel uses iClone. They use it because iClone's so fast for animation, and because you're doing daily shows in a show like Jimmy Kimmel, you need some really fast animation tools. And Jesse Griffith is a friend of ours who's using iClone for that exact purpose. We also have some feedback from the Gadget Show, Animation Magazine, and our product family. So I think most of you do not have the full version of iClone yet. So here's the different versions, different product editions of iClone, iClone6 Pro and iClone6 Standard. And we have a comparison table on our website that I'd recommend checking out to kind of, determine what you need. You can buy each version based on what you need, your particular needs. 3D Exchange 5, we're almost coming out with 3D Exchange 6 here within the next month. 3D Exchange 5 is just for converting external content into iClone. So if you have, content like from Google 3D Warehouse or free content or any content that you have, like animations or models, you can bring those into iClone via this program 3D Exchange. And you can, like I mentioned, characters, animations, and props. So any game, any content library that you can find, all this stuff, you can bring it into iClone. And then we also have the Indigo render plugin, which I mentioned before, the photorealistic render. We have tons of material on about that on our website. and additional content. This is what I'm taking care of at the company here at Reallusion. Content store. So we have all sorts of different content ranging from 2D to 3D to animations to images and audio, all sorts of stuff that you can check out. I'd recommend checking out our content store. Animation ready characters and bases, skies, scenes, and buildings, like this Toontown pack right here. So you can create and combine all sorts of different stuff. Now this gardening pack is pretty cool. This vehicles pack, I think we have and there's also special effects as well. I'm going to be showing you a Total Plants Volume 2 pack in the live demo, which is pretty awesome. That's this one right here. So this is from SpeedTree, and there's literally 1,873 variations of plants, which I'll show you later. So if you are ever, if you ever wanted plants or vegetation in your scene, this is pretty much all you'll ever need for the rest of your life, is this pack right here. And I'll show you more about that later. And partnering with our industry-leading content providers such as Daz and Unity and other companies as well. So here's a lot of Unity developers. We have them on the content store. You can find lots of scenes and stuff. All right, so let's get on to our live demo. So I just wanted to give you a brief overview of what we're going to be covering in our live demo here. We're going to be creating 2 scenes. Hopefully we'll have time to do both. Indoor scene, we have your basic scene assembly. I'm going to talk to you about prop alignment and movement, importing stuff from 3D Exchange, and then we're going to assign materials and lighting to our scene so it looks like the one on the bottom. And then we're going to be talking about iClone light tools and ambient occlusion and all that fun stuff. And then we have an exterior scene. So the exterior scenes are fairly simple. Sky, tool, and water. We're going to be gardening. Bet you didn't think you'd be gardening today, but we're going to be gardening with SpeedTree. And then we have the HDR and image-based lighting manipulation. And I'll show you more about lighting your exterior scenes as well. So that's about it for the PowerPoint. Thanks for sticking with us for this awesome little PowerPoint. So this is the project that I'm going to be creating. First of all, here you can see this nice looking scene here. This interior scene. I'm going to be recreating this, and I'm going to be showing you how to do it from scratch. So to create something from scratch, we need to start anew. So let's go ahead and create a new project. And again, if you have any questions on this procedure, you can ask me in the questions panel in your GoToMeeting panel on the right-hand side there, or left, or wherever you have it. I'm going to press Control G, and that's going to turn on my grid here. So this is your basic scene, and you can hold the Alt key and right-click to rotate around your scene like this. Hold the Alt key and left click to pan left and right like this. Hold the Alt key and both mouse buttons to zoom in and out. So Alt and your mouse buttons are basically all you need to know. So to get started on our building, we're going to start with a couple of basic geometry items. So let's go to our props folder up here, our props tab up here. And this is where you can find all your props. And I'm going to select my props folder right here. And then we have 3D blocks. So I'm going to open up these 3D blocks and go to the wall and the floor section. And I'm going to add in a couple of walls into my scene. So I'm going to click on this wall right here, and you can see, yeah, basic wall. We don't really need, not much else we can say about that. If I press the W hotkey, that'll bring up my movement gizmo, and then I can move my wall around, like this. And if I press the E hotkey, I can rotate it like this. And if I press the R hotkey, I can scale it up and down like this. So W, E, and R, very important keys to know when you're using iClone. So let's go ahead and just reset this. We can actually just delete this and bring in another one, since I kind of messed it up there. And then what I want to do to create another one of these, to make a copy of it, all I need to do is hold down the Control key and click and drag, and ta-da, we have 2 walls now. And then I'm going to rotate this one using the E hotkey again, rotate it to the side, and then we'll use our we'll enter in 270 over here on the right-hand side in your transform area. That's your basic, position for your prop in your scene. And you can see the values change as I move that. So we have our 2 walls. Let's go ahead and add in our floor. Now I could add in this floor right here, but what I'm going to do is just go ahead and double-click this floor, add it in, and then I can just go ahead and align these walls to the edge of my floor. Now there's 2 ways I can do that. The one way is I can, click on it and go over here and zoom in and see, oh gosh, is it close enough to the edge? Is it, is it going to be right on the edge there? Another easier way I can do it is I can just go ahead and go into my preferences by pressing Control P. that's too good into your preference. And you can also use this snap to model function, or you can just press Control M. So with that selected, I'm going to show you how easy it is. So I'm just going to move this over to the edge and boom, kind of just snaps into place right there. So you can see now it's perfectly aligned to the edge, which is awesome. So we don't have to waste all that time, trying to put it exactly where we want it. And then let's move this one over here, boom, snaps to the edge as well. So there you go, we have our basic, walls all set up. Now this floor seems a little bit too big for our scene. If we want to decrease the size of this floor, we could press the R hotkey and scale it like this. Or alternately, I'm just going to press Control Z to undo that. Alternately, what I could do is if I want to scale it from the edge right here, I'm going to go down, down, down further to the pivot section, and I'm going to select the corner. I think we need to go to the quick set, the back here, and the corner, the back corner. There you go. It's this one right here. The back corner of my object right here, and then press the R hotkey. And then if I scale it, it's going to scale from that point, which is a lot easier for us to get a nice, perfectly symmetrical room right here. It doesn't have to be symmetrical, but just kind of OCDing it out here. There we go. Put it in the corner like that. So then we have this nice, corner. And then what I can do is just press W and I'll hold the Control key, click and drag to create a roof, and that'll snap into place just like that. So there we have our basic room. But unfortunately, we can't see, through the roof right now. So what we can do is we can also just make this invisible by going to our scene tab over here, and we can go to the eye right here, and we can just make this invisible by clicking this eye, and there you go. So now we can see everything, and we don't have to worry about, we can also lock it so we can't change it. So then when I click over here, it'll select the bottom one, and you can select anything in your scene, and that thing is, the roof there is totally invisible. If I wanted to do that, I can change it to the roof. I can change the name of it by clicking over here and just selecting roof, just to keep things a little bit clearer. Okay, so we have our basic room again. Let's start by adding in a couple of items into our scene. So I'm going to go to my content tab here, and I have this sofa setup that I've saved from before. So whenever you save a custom prop, you can go to your custom folder over here and go to your props. And I have this sofa stuff right here. I just saved it as a sofa stuff. I click and drag this into my scene, and there we have a sofa setup. So I've actually copied this sofa setup from one of the embedded projects in iClone6. So if you wanted to, you can go to projects, and I think it's in scene right here. We have this lounge. You can just save them from that project right there. So you should have that with your copy of iClone6. So what I'm going to do now is just go, I don't want this sofa on the right hand side, but everything here is kind of attached together. I'm just going to press Control M and undo the snap to model there. So now everything's moving around smoother. And what I'm going to do is go into my scene tab right here, and we have this table. I'm going to twirl down the hierarchy, and you can see we have a couple of sofas, a few sofas actually, sofa 1, sofa 2, and sofa 3. So I'm going to just take this sofa and delete it. Press the delete button, so that's out of there. We don't want this beanbag either. It looks a little bit trashy, so we'll just take that out. And we have these, two sofas just sitting across from each other with a couple of glasses of wine there. We'll just move these kind of into the corner, and I think that's looking fine and dandy right there. What I can even do is, take the sofa and move it a little bit closer over here as well. We can take our artwork, our table, take the whole table and move it up this way, and take this other sofa, move it closer this way. There you go. Everything's a little bit closer together. It doesn't really matter, but okay. So there's our sofa layout and everything like that. What I want to do now is go ahead and add in some windows to our scene. So I'm going to go to my content tab and the props tab again here. We're going to go to, we have this displacement power pack, which you can find in our content store, and this Greco-Roman style. So I think we have some windows in here somewhere. If we go to walls, there you go. We have Windows 04. So I'm just going to click and drag this window into my scene here. And there you can see we have this cool looking window. All I want to do is place this window in front of the window opening in our wall. So to do that, we'll just go over here. That looks pretty good. And if I want to scale it, I can press the R hotkey again, scale it smaller. And so it's just barely, covering from top to bottom there. And then press the R hotkey again and scale it like this. So there we have our window all set up. And if you want to copy that to the other, windows, all I have to do is hold the Control key and click and drag, and that'll make an exact carbon copy of that window, and we can just place it in this window opening right here, which is fine. And then we'll just do the same thing a couple more times. So again, hold the Control key, click and drag, and this one I want to rotate it 90 degrees, so we can actually just type in 90 here, so it's at a perfectly right angle. And I'm going to press the W hotkey, move it back to about that position right there, and then we'll slide it into place over there. Looking good so far. Okay, then we just have one more, Control, click and drag again, and position that one into place right there. Okay, so there's our scene all taken care of. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a couple more things into my scene. First of all, I want to add a nice little shelf. And for the shelf, I'm just going to be a little bit lazy and just use some simple geometry here. I'm just going to go to my 3D blocks, and down here we have a couple boxes. I can just import in box 01. And then I'm just going to use the R hotkey to scale this down, something reasonable shelf size, and move that up right here. We want to place it relatively aligned between these two windows here. There we go, and a little bit out. And we can, scale it smaller as well. And there we go, just bring it a little bit further up. There we go. Okay, so there's our shelf, and I'm not an interior designer. It's a very basic shelf. We'll call it modernist, a very modernist shelf. So that's the shelf we have there. We have pretty much everything we need. So what we need to do now is we need to get around to assigning some materials to everything. And now to do that, actually let's put a character in the scene first, just to kind of show you the difference for the character. So this is just a little aside here. I'm going to go to G6 style. We can add in, I like this Heidi with the short funky hair. This is from Celigon's G6 style pack as well. You can find this in the marketplace or content store. All sorts of different outfits for our friend Heidi here. So we'll just move her back. And what I'm going to do is apply a quick animation to her right here. So you get a quick animation lesson here. We'll go to motions, and at G6 motions, perform. Oh, those are Masons. Perform for female. And I'm going to use this sit and talk motion right here. So she'll sit down and talk. And we want her to keep a pose, maybe something like this. That looks like kind of a cool pose. So all I need to do now is when she's in this pose, right click her, select remove object animation, and then go back to frame 1. And I'm going to move her into position right over here. There you go. I think that looks fine and dandy right there. You can even move her a little bit closer to the edge so she's leaning on that pillow or something. All right, looks good enough. We're not going to be too picky about her positioning. That's just so we have a character in the scene. So again, let's get to assigning some materials now. So the materials, you can find a lot of materials in your media tab up here. And we have all these materials right here. These are where you can find your substance materials. So what I'm going to do first is we're going to take a look at these walls, these plain walls. We need to modify them a little bit. So let's go to our substance folder right here, and you'll have this embedded with iClone6. And you'll have this brick wall 02. I'm going to make this kind of a hipster type place. So I'm just going to click and drag this brick wall 02 and drag it onto my wall right there. And you can see that we have this brick wall right now, which is kind of cool, but the bricks are a little bit large. Those are kind of massive looking bricks. What we can do here is we can actually change the UV mapping on this wall. So to do that, let's go to our materials tab up here on the right hand side under modify. And what I'm going to do is adjust the values here a little bit. So we're going to scroll down here, and you can see that we have all of these different texture maps here. They have a little flame in the bottom left there, indicates it's a substance material. And that gets into a little bit more complicated stuff. We won't worry about that right now. What you need to do is worry about the UV settings on the very bottom here. So UV settings are basically how your textures are mapped to the surface of an object. So right now, it's fairly decent. I mean, it looks okay, but we can actually make those bricks smaller by tiling it a little bit more. So let's change the U and the V to something like 2. So that's again horizontal and vertical. And let's press apply. And you can see, whoops, something happens. It kind of just messes everything up. But on the little side over here, we have, it looks strange. But what we need to do now is just actually adjust the UV mapping for one of these presets. So I'm going to select this box preset and select apply. And And then you can see we get the bricks, but they're kind of facing the wrong way. So let's align them to a different axis. Let's align them to the y-axis and select apply. Oh, maybe not the y-axis. Let's try the z-axis. So there's our z-axis, and that looks just fine. I think I'm going to keep that. We get that nice, brick wall right there. And then what I can do is I can just go ahead and I can either just click and drag this, material again onto this wall, or I can just, have this wall selected and go to the very top, use this eye picker tool. So pick, and then pick this material here. And then what I want to do is use this paint and paint it over on this side right here. And then of course we need to go and adjust the UV tiling at the very bottom again. So let's go down to the very bottom, and we use the box preset, blah, 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 blah. We need to, let's press escape there. Select the right wall. Okay, so we need to select box again, z-axis, and tile it twice, and then press apply. There we go. So now we have our, cool brick interior and our nice windows and everything like that. Let's do the same thing for our shelf. Let's just apply a quick, marble or granite texture to our shelf here. I think you can find that substance. There's something over here. There's a granite one. Or we can also use the substance power pack, this architecture one. There's a whole bunch of different materials you can use. You can use a concrete one or a granite one. I believe there's a granite one here somewhere under metal. Or I guess no, granite would be a stone, wouldn't it? All right, here's the marble one. We'll try the marble one here. There you go. So it's a nice marble shelf right there. And maybe it's a bit too thick. We can reduce the size a little bit. There you go. Okay, so there's our nice marble shelf. And again, we can, map that as well. But I think it looks fine the way it is. Looks like a decent marble shelf. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to go ahead and import in a separate prop from 3D Exchange. Or not from 3D Exchange, rather, from Google 3D Warehouse. So I'm going to go into Chrome here. And 3D Warehouse, it should come up, 3dwarehouse.sketchup.com. Just press enter, and what we're going to search for is a Chinese vase. So I'm going to go ahead and search Chinese vase, and go ahead and search that, and you can see all sorts of different cool looking props come up, different types of Chinese vases. What I'm going to do is just go ahead and select this one, and you can preview it by going over here to your preview button. If you like the look of it, you just pan around and say, oh, that looks pretty nice. You got some nice little birds on there and some bamboo. Can't go wrong with bamboo. So let's go ahead and download this. So just select download. Again, it's free. This is Google 3D Warehouse, so all of the models are free. And download the SketchUp 8 model right here. And that should load up into our downloads folder. So what I need to do now is I'm going to go to my desktop, and I'm going to open 3D Exchange. Now, like I mentioned, 3D Exchange is the conversion software, and it allows you to convert anything and import it into iClone. So let's go ahead, and I can even just go to my downloads folder, which is where I downloaded that. I think it was called this sure.skp. Yep, that's the one. And I'm going to click and drag it into 3D Exchange. And there's our cool looking Chinese vase. But we also have a little bit of an issue here with the edges along the side of the vase here. And you may experience this with a lot of different models. All you need to do is just go ahead, select both of the meshes over here on the left-hand side. So we have Chinese vase front side and back side. Hold shift, select both of them. And then we have down here the normal section. Just go ahead, select weld vertex, and then select auto smooth. And that should smooth it out right away. And if you have any questions about this procedure, you can just, of course, email me again. I know we don't talk about what normals are and everything. So if you're wondering what are normals, don't worry about it right now. So we have our vase selected. I'm going to select export to iClone now. You can also use Control E. Select that. iClone6, we can call it Sure, or we can call it Sure Chinese Vase. The name makes no sense, but we're just going to use that one anyways. So Sure Chinese Vase, go ahead and press OK, and we can export it to our default destination iClone content folder, which I'll show you in just a sec. So I'm going to press OK. Successfully exported. Awesome. So let's go ahead and close down 3D Exchange. And I'm going to go into iClone now and go to our props section right here and to our custom tab. And we can go down to the S's, which is where I saved it. Sure, there's our Sure Chinese vase right there. So I'm going to click and drag this into my scene. And you can see the vase is pretty massive. It's, you can put a person inside there. I'm just going to press the R hotkey and scale it down again. And you can see that the pivot point is over here. If you want the pivot point to be in the center, you can just go over here again, like I mentioned before, with the ground, and select the center right here, and you can just edit the pivot point and move that pivot point really wherever you want on the object. You can even move it over here, somewhere in the center. That looks okay, and then select undo that pivot, and then we can scale it from the center. So R, scale it like that, and place it nice and neatly, whoops, on our shelf. There we go. I think that looks fine where it is. Not too close to the edge. There you go. Okay, so there's our Chinese vase that we just imported in from 3D Exchange. So let's do the same thing for materials on the floor and the sofas, and then we'll move on to the lighting. So I'm going to go to the content here, and I'm going to go to the media tab and substance materials. I'm going to use this is a substance power pack I'm using now, so this is a separate pack not included with iClone6. I'm just going to choose one of these wood textures down here. So say, for example, this wood right here, we can just click and drag that into our scene and see it looks pretty nice, but maybe the resolution isn't as nice as it could be. So I'm going to go to my materials tab again, and what we can do here is change the resolution. You can see the output size right now is 512 by 512. We can change that to something like 124 by 124, and you can see the difference right there. Also, 2048 by 2048 will make it even more detailed. So we got that nice, looking wooden floor right there. I think it looks pretty cool. We could even try a different one like this pine one as well, and we can change that to 2048 by 2048 texture size. It really depends on what sort of wooden flooring you want. I think there's one here that actually has some hatching on it. Let's just use this walnut one and change that to 2048. That's a nice dark color right there. Okay, we'll just go ahead and keep it with that one for now. I think I'm fine with that one. So there's our nice looking floor, and what I can do is go to the sofa again, into the scene tab, and we need to select the sofa. Now the sofa actually has two materials, this one right here and this one right here, which is the one that we need to change. So I can just go ahead to the content tab again, and the substances, I think we have a linen, some sort of linen one here in the substance pack. Fabric, we can choose one of these fabric ones. Let's choose fabric canvas and see what that does. Okay, it looks okay. And then if we want, we can change the color of that as well by going down here and modifying the color. Whoops, went to a wrong place there. So let's go ahead and we can go down here and change, like the color 01. So we can change this color to let's change that to a dark red. That looks a little bit gaudy. We can, again, I'm not an interior designer, so there you go. That one looks fine and dandy for what we have. And then what I can do is, with this material selected, go ahead, use our eyedropper tool, and then go to select our other sofa right here, and we can paste this one on our sofa. Oops, we need to assign the material. Well, let's just go ahead and do it the easy way. It can be a little bit different color, that's fine. This one right here, and just scroll down here and change that first color. I think that's a close enough match right there. You can spend more time, getting the matches exact, but like I mentioned before, I'm not too concerned about that right now. And what I'm going to show you as well is with these pillows, if I go to my scene tab and open up the sofa and the pillows, I think we're on the wrong sofa there. This one right here. There you go. If I take a look at these pillows, I mentioned real-time surface smoothing before. What I can do is, you see this little object right here, this little indicator. We can change this from original to surface smoothing. So if I selected that, for example, you can take a look at my pillow. It'll smooth out a little bit, like that. We can do the same thing for this one right here. Notice it right now. And then if we do the real-time surface smoothing, it'll just kind of puff up a little bit. And we can do it for all these. Everyone gets real-time surface smoothing. All right, so there we go. That's our room right there. And again, with the glass, we can actually create some reflection in the glass, but I'll show you that a little bit later if we have time. What I want to focus on right now is I want to focus on the lighting now. So for lighting, we have some different lighting tools that are included with iClone6. So I'm going to go to we're already in the scene tab right now, and go down to our lights. So every default iClone project will start with two separate lights, your key light right here and your rim light right here. So if I select one of those lights and I press the / key, we'll get a result like this. And I can, rotate using this gizmo, rotate that light. It's great for an outdoor scene. Like if this was outdoor on a park bench, that would be, great lighting. And then we have the rim light as well, which is the complementary light. You can change this one as to any direction that you like to get all kinds of cool lighting. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, shock and horror, just take out all the lights. So now we have no lights in our scene whatsoever. And I'm going to go to my content tab and props and our template tab right here. And in the props folder, we have what are called light tools. So I'm going to add my first light tool in here, which is a nice looking floor lamp. And I'll click and just drag that into my scene. And there we go. We have this, pretty cool looking floor lamp, but the lighting is fairly localized. I'm just going to bring it over to the edge here. And what you can do with this floor lamp is if you want it to be brighter, you can choose this. There's a little panel that appears on the top. You can just make that brighter or darker like that. And that's the result you'll get from the floor lamp. What I'm going to do is we need like a main room light, which this floor lamp is not really suitable for. So I'm going to go ahead and load in this pendant lamp light, which is one of my favorite lights. So we'll just click and drag this into our scene right now. And you can see, ooh, we get some kind of creepy looking bottom light going on here. That's because my light is below the ground. I'm just going to bring it above the ground. And what I can do is I can make that roof visible now if I wanted to. There we go. We renamed it roof. There we go. So now our roof is visible. And I can take this light and bring it up, attach it to my roof. Make sure that it's in the right position right there. We could also add materials to the roof, but nobody really cares about the roof anyways. Let's just make it invisible right now. There we go. And our pendant lamp is, reasonably centered over this table, which is kind of where I want it to be. There we go. That's relatively centered around the table. And then again, we can change the lighting of the pendant lamp to something, a little bit more dim and romantic, or we can have it bright and lighting up the room for a party. So that's the cool, thing about these light tools in iClone. You can use them as a really simple way to light up your scene, and we can get into a lot more detail with that stuff, but I'm just going to leave it there for now, and we're going to go on to some visuals with the shadows and everything like that. So let's go ahead to our visual tab then, and this is where you kind of refine your appearance of everything like that. So I'm going to select ambient occlusion, which is what I talked about before. Ambient occlusion, and ambient occlusion is basically just adding a little bit of extra, shadow and contrast to the dark areas of your scene. So let's pay attention to this area around the sofa right now. If I increase the distance and the strength of my ambient occlusion, notice that around the pillow area and the range, notice that around the pillow area we get that nice, additional kind of shadow going on. If you're doing outdoor scenes, it's not very useful, but if you're doing indoor scenes and you want some higher contrast shadows, I'd recommend using ambient occlusion to really get that detail in your shot, which is pretty cool right here. And in addition to that, we can also go to our shadows tab right here. You can see our shadows are currently at 75% opacity. So let's pay attention to the shadow on the sofa right here. If we increase that shadow, notice it becomes darker. We can probably find other shadows in the room as well. If we take the shadow opacity down, you can see, well, under the table, you can notice it most noticeably. The shadow is very dark. If we have 100% opacity, let's change that bias to 0 as well. And we can talk more about that later. But basically, that's the opacity, and you can change your soft shadow performance to higher quality. But keep in mind that the higher you put all these values, the more resources it takes out of your computer, and it may go a little bit sluggish when you have all these things going on at once. And then as a final effect, if you wanted to add some additional stuff into your scene, you can go ahead and choose this HDR effect and get some nice gleam off your lights. And if you wanted to increase the brightness threshold, you could have a little bit less of that going on, something like this. And then you can select tone map, which adds a little bit more contrast into your scene as well. And you can adjust the Gaussian scale as well as your exposure. And so if you wanted a little bit higher exposure, you can refine it to something like this. And so a scene like this could be really cool. In addition, one more thing, I'm just going to select this window really quickly, and I'm going to show you the reflection on the window. So we have this window, and we have a glass part of the window. We have this reflection. If I increase that reflection, you can see that if you take a close look at it, if we increase the reflection, or down here there's no reflection, up here we get a higher reflection. But I can just take this bump and take out that bump, take out the specular values as well, because they're kind of interfering with our reflection value right there. And if we have this reflection, you can see right there, there's a nice reflection of this light off the window. Or rather, it's a reflection map. It's not actually reflecting the light. That's one way you can have a kind of a fake reflection. So if we were going around our scene, we could have something like this. Alternately, you could totally trash your reflection map as well, and you could go down here and you can choose reflection from here. Now this will take up a lot of system resources, so keep this in mind if you have a lot of windows, and then you get the real reflection. So this is what the light from the scene is reflecting, and you can see that our character is right there. The window is kind of foggy, but if you pay attention, you can see her red hair right there. So you can also do that with reflection as well. I'm just going to take that off for now. And we're not going to worry too much about that because that's basically our indoor scene. And we're going to move right into our outdoor scene because we have limited time left. So that's your indoor scene. Hopefully you learned a lot about the indoor scene. Let's start a new project. It's kind of a pity to take all that off, but we're going to start a new project now. And then I'm going to go to my content tab and we're going to add in a terrain. So we have height map terrains that are included with iClone. If you go to your props tab right here, you can go to terrain. And you have these height map terrains large, which are included with iClone6. I'm going to use one of these terrains of the world here. This is another content pack. I'm going to use this Canadian mountain range right here. And I'm going to hold Alt and Shift. If you hold Alt and Shift and both mouse buttons, you can zoom out a lot faster. And this is useful when you're using large scenes like this. You can see the scene is fairly massive. And what I'm going to do is just go ahead and press Control G to take off that grid, and you can see our scene, how large it is right here. So the first thing I'm going to do is add in some water to our scene. You can modify all these textures as well. But we're not going to worry about that. We don't really have time to get into that right now. I'm going to add some water into my scene. So we'll go to the water folder, and I'm just going to choose one of these waters. I'd recommend using the waters from this main folder here. I'll just go ahead and use this gentle wave. And it looks, okay, but the problem is that we don't have a sky, so there's not really any reflection going on except for the reflection of the mountains right there, which looks okay. But let's go ahead and add in a sky really quickly. We can add in this, cloudy day sky, and you can see the clouds reflecting off the water right there on the ground, or we can choose like a clear day sky, and then we get, clouds like this, and reflection off the ground looks a lot nicer. I'm going to go ahead and use the sky tool though, because the sky tool is something cool that you can add on. But we're going to add that in a little bit later after we're finished, adding some more stuff to our scene. So the next thing I'm going to do is plant some speed trees. So you can find your speed trees again in the props folder under trees. There should be a tree folder right here. There we go. Trees right here. So you'll have all these trees down here, and these are all speed trees in your main tree folder. I have that Total Plants 2 pack that I was telling you about before. So if I open up the tree folder, you can see there's all sorts of, like, for example, only broadleaf trees. We have all of these, types of broadleaf trees. There's acacia trees, which I've never even heard of, African olive trees. And you can see all the different varieties of crazy trees we have here. I'm just going to go ahead and add in some of your basic trees that we have, that everyone has. They're called Norwegian trees, Norway spruce. Yeah, there we go. So I'm just going to go ahead and right on this little peninsula right here, this kind of rectangular shaped peninsula. Well, let's do it over here actually. I'm going to add in a bunch of trees. So let's go ahead and add in some Norway spruce trees. So I added in one. Now I don't have to keep on, repeatedly bringing them in and in and in and in like that. But what I can do is just go ahead, select my first tree, and select Start Gardening. And then I have the option to, plant different trees. And what I'm going to do is just go ahead and, increase the size of my selection area right here. And you can see it conforms to the terrain when we plant the trees. And what I'm going to do is just go ahead, increase the number of trees, and we'll bring down the size a little bit. Let's just focus on this one peninsula area here, and maybe the size can be a little bit larger. There we go. And there we have a bunch of trees right there. So we're going to focus on this little area right here. And then what I'm going to do is under trees, I'm going to go into my garden variety folder here, which is also included with the total plants too. And we have pagodas and huts. I'm going to add a pagoda, just for some random reason into our scene. So I'm going to add this pagoda tower with the lion. And this looks kind of cool, maybe like a Game of Thrones type outpost or something like that. And we can, position it into place. I think something like that will look just fine and dandy. And so there we have our trees and our pagoda. And what I want to do now is add in our character. We're going to add in a Trenton the Terrible character. And I'll just bring this guy in right here. And once he loads in, we'll see him right here. Okay, there we go. And we'll have this guy, kind of just idling around over. Oh, we need to make sure he has foot contact on there. Idling around where this lion is over here. And then what I want to do is I'm going to take the lights out of my scene. So we'll go to our scene, take the lights out, and you can see, whoops, where's my mouse? Oh, there it is. Okay, take the lights out. We have nothing in the scene. And now's the time I want to add my sky tool. So I'm going to go to Content, Props. I have about 5 minutes left here. So Props, and we need to open the Props folder. And then we have this sky tool right here. So all I need to do is just click and drag this, rather double click the sky tool. And then you can move around the sun in the sky. So you can use this sun in the little control panel on the top left there. And you can see we have some clouds. If I don't want clouds, I can go to the cloud section here, take off the cloud density, and just, have our sun go through our scene like this. So we can have, morning in the east, the sun rising, and then going over here. And then we have the afternoon sun like that. I think we have an actual, there's an actual sun in the sky. I forget where it appears though. I think we should have it appear right there. There's the morning sun right there. And so when you go after the morning sun disappears, then we have the the moon coming down there as well. So there's the moon at nighttime, and you can see we get all those nice looking stars in the sky. And you can also change the moon phase as well if you want. So like crescent moon or no moon or full moon. And the star density as well. I like to have a lot of stars in the sky, which is pretty cool. And then what you can do, you can see everything's very dark in this scene. And because there's only one light coming from the moon, actually, and it's a very, very light, very faint light. So what we can do is we can actually go to our visual tab here. And we'll go back to IBL, which is what I talked about earlier. And you can select IBL on, and that'll basically create a nice ambient light in your scene. I'm going to double click my IBL channel right here, and we can choose to add in like any of these color themes. I like to use this, sunny one because it looks kind of warm like this. If you wanted to, you can change that from a nice warm color to a nice icy color like this, and that would be more, more suitable for this. But you want to make sure you increase the softness, and maybe that strength is a little too much as well. So we could have something like this, and then we have this night scene. And what I want to do is add in a nice torch into our scene. So this is where the lighting tools come to the rescue again. Select the lighting tool right here. And I'm going to add in a torch to our scene. And there you go. We can have that torch right in front of the lion. We'll say it's kind of sticking out of the edge of this, the post of our outpost, the support beam of our outpost. We'll just rotate it this way a little bit. There you go. We don't have a handle or anything like that, but we can just, pretend for now. There we go. So we have that, nice torch light, and we can move our character a little bit closer so we can see him as well. There you go. And then what I can do is I can add some fog into the scene as well. And the way I'm going to do that is by going to my Content tab, and under Particles, we don't want the props anymore, we want the particles. We have in the Environment folder, we have some nice fog. So I'll just click and drag the fog into my scene. And you won't be able to see anything right now, But you want to make sure that your fog dummy, which is right here, where this gizmo is, you want to make sure it's really close to your camera, because if you look at fog from far away, it doesn't really look very foggy. You want to be right in the midst of the fog, so you want it to be close to your camera. So let's go ahead and play this back, something like this. And you may have a bit of lag on your end with the webinar, but this is what fog does. So you can get a kind of a nice, cool effect here, where we have the fog, rolling in and making those trees behind look very mysterious. And we have our character. We could give him like some sort of animation or something. Let's give him like a nice Mason motion right here, a Mason idle. Just your basic motion right there. At least he's moving along. And that's pretty much it. And then also for the trees in the background as well, if you want the trees to be affected by wind, you can go ahead and select the trees. Let's turn into a late afternoon scene right now then, something like this. And let's select the tree. With one tree selected, select plant wind settings, and you can increase the strength and increase the gust frequency. And this may not be as effective for you guys, again, like I mentioned, but you should be able to see those trees swaying in the background. And we haven't had a big gust of wind yet. It just does it. The computer does it randomly. So, but you can see, some slight movement in the trees. There we go. Now we get some gusts of wind going on, and that. It's pretty cool. So maybe it's a smoke from a fire or something like that, just drifting through these trees. And that's that. So I guess that's our live demo, guys. We're going to go to the Q&A session right now. And if you have any questions, I'm going to be answering those right now. So hopefully you learned something in that section of the webinar right there. I'm just going to take out this questions panel right here. And let's expand it a little bit. Okay, so let's see if we have any questions, guys. Does anyone have any questions? Some people are talking about the audio missing. Okay, so when Daniel asks, will this video be available? Yeah, we'll email this video to you guys, a link for this video, so you can watch it again whenever you want. We also have a question about 3D Exchange. When is it ready and what's the upgrade cost? 3D Exchange 6, you can use 3D Exchange 5 right now to import stuff into iClone, but 3D Exchange 6 will be probably launched, I think, in June is when we're looking to launch it. That's basically when the broad launch is available. So we have David asking about custom faces on iClone6 characters. So actually the difference between iClone 5 and iClone 6 characters is quite large. Basically, we're going to be coming up with a character customization system similar to something like Mixamo Fuse. If any of you are familiar with that, we'll be creating totally different type of character. And that'll be morph based. So you'll be able to have a single character and morph the body in all sorts of different ways and with a single clone cloth. It's kind of hard to explain right here, but you can take a look at DAZ characters, DAZ Genesis characters, and it'll be pretty similar to those type of characters in the future. But we will still have custom faces on a lot of our characters. For iClone 5 characters, but for iClone 6 characters, it'll still be a while before we're able to fit that in. But we will have it in the future. That's one of the biggest, the coolest points about having iClone is creating those custom character faces. And if it comes down to it, you can just use the older models, which are totally awesome as well. So I'd recommend using those. Okay. So, a question from Zola. I have the original iClone 6 version released last December. Do I have to install that one first, or do I start with the latest release version? It doesn't really matter which version you have, as long as you have iClone 6. All of the patches that we release are completely free. So we will be releasing the 6.1 patch, I believe, end of this week or early next week. So for all of you who are looking to purchase iClone6, I'd recommend once you install it, check for updates right away. Once you check for the update, you'll have the iClone 6.1 function, iClone 6.1 version rather, which will help you, which will upgrade you to the next version. And you can go to help over here and check for update from your help menu to do that. So it's always good to do this. Like I mentioned, I think it'll be Friday or possibly at the latest next Monday. So maybe over the weekend, check for an update and you'll have iClone 6.1. Okay, so a question from Pierre asking about toon generation. Can you mix and match hair and other props to customize the characters at all? Yeah, totally. Toon generation characters, they have, I believe you're talking about the toon generation characters from 3D Universe. They have custom hair and everything like that. They have custom props, accessories, and hair. You can mix and match those for the toon generation characters. Not to the extent that you can customize our iClone 5 characters, for example, but they are definitely customizable. And that's because they're from a different developer. Another question from Zola asks, can iClone 5 and iClone 6 characters share clothing? The generation of characters is the only standard for whether or not characters can share clothing. So say, for example, if you have a G3 character, which is the characters that we had in iClone 4, we had G3 characters. They cannot share clothing or uppers or lowers with G5 characters like Chuck or Gwyn. But if you have G5 characters like Chuck or Gwyn and you purchase a custom character from the marketplace or content store, G5 characters, we have the G5 new look characters as well. They can swap clothes with each other. We have a lot of different characters from developers like Celigon and Vit3D. If you guys are familiar with the marketplace, you've probably heard those names. Those are definitely exchangeable with our iClone default characters. And I'd recommend checking those out. Vit3D is an especially talented developer. His characters are excellent, and you can share all the Generation 5 characters can share clothing. Like I mentioned, Generation 6 will be a little bit different, and it'll be actually a lot easier for you to create and customize your own clothing as well. So we'll have some demo videos on that coming out probably next month, just to kind of give you a little sample of it. Okay, we have a question from Hoy. I know there are a lot of plugins. How am I able to add the plugin in which it shows in the iClone 6 program? It depends on which plugin you want. The only external plugin is the Indigo plugin right now, which is the one I am pointing to right here on the top right. That is your Indigo stuff right there. So this will launch your Indigo renderer, and it'll render the current scene that you have in Indigo format. I don't think it'll render this scene very well, but I mean, we could try it. But that's the Indigo plugin right there. The Substance plugin just comes with embedded into iClone. So as soon as you get iClone 6, you're able to use the Substance textures, and like I showed you before, you can customize all those textures and change all the different values. I didn't show you much as far as Substance is concerned, but Substance is really cool. I'd recommend checking it out on YouTube. There's all sorts of different values that you can modify, and you can create your own substances as well. Okay, so we got a question from Joe about Daz characters, and still get the hair motion like in the 6 characters like Heidi. Daz characters, their hair, you can use the physics on Daz characters' hair, but you will have to modify the weight maps. And we have YouTube tutorials on weight maps on our YouTube channel. Again, it's pretty difficult to do that, but we also do have custom Daz hair pieces as well that you can just purchase from a marketplace or content store. But if you want to do it yourself, yeah, you can do that as well with weight maps if you're familiar with how to use those. Check out the YouTube channel on the tutorial for weight maps, and it'll show you how you can use Daz clothing. You can apply these weight maps to Daz clothing so they can be used, or so they can be compatible with iClone's physics engine. Okay, we got a few more questions here. Can the screen go wider than that? Zane asks. Yeah, that's one kind of good question, I guess. Can the screen go wider than this? The way to get your screen wider, right now I haven't set a render size for my screen. So what I can do is I can go up to render, and I can select render video or render image or whatever, and that'll just bring up this render panel, which I always dock on the right hand side. If I click and drag this, you can take out the panel as well, but I like to keep my render panel docked over on the right hand side. So I just click and drag it right over here and just put it in right there. And for the output size, that's how you determine the size of your frame right here. I'm going to close the sky tool down right now. You can just go from full frame to like something 1280 by 720, your typical HD 720 right there. And then you can get your nice, larger screen like that. So when you export is when you kind of set that. But obviously, if you want to, if you know that you're going to be producing 720p, then you want to set this output size right away before you do anything. Okay. All right. So we have a question from Alvin about the competition. If you guys are not familiar with the competition, we have a competition going on right now. Check out our website. We have an animation competition where you can win all sorts of cool prizes, software, money. I think there's like $5,000 cash for one of the prizes. Check it out, and you can use iClone in combination with other software to participate in that competition. So if you guys are up for animating or creating any sort of awesome looking videos based on characters or sci-fi or anything like that, go ahead and enter that competition, and you probably have a good chance of winning if you're skilled at other software as well. Okay, the questions are kind of coming up randomly. So Zane asks about the screen of the work area. Yeah, you can modify the screen of the work area as well. I guess that's UI related. So let's go ahead and so this is the size of your production area. All you need to do is take this edge right here. You can click and drag it over, and that'll increase the size of your production area. In addition, you can go ahead and press all these. You can press Control 1, or I think it's 1, 2, or F1. Hold on a sec here. I haven't used this hotkey in such a long time. We have different setups that we should have here. Window. Oh yeah, okay, toolbar, workspace. Here we go. Control. Okay, Control 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Sorry guys, forgot the hotkeys for that. So Control 3 is like your animation view. Control 4 is like a different view. Control 5. This one here is your render view, so it's just the maximum view size right here. And then Control 6 will just open all of the different windows. I like to normally just keep it at Control 2, and now I've kind of messed everything up. But and then I just take my Indigo plugin and dock it up to the top here. So that's kind of how you can change the viewable size of your scene space right here. I'm just going to open up the questions one more time here. We got time for a couple more questions here. Let me just click and drag this out here. I think we have a couple more questions. Can I create a scene in Poser and bring it into iClone6? That's a good question. So, Daz or Poser, you can create scenes and you can bring them into iClone6 via 3D Exchange. However, keep in mind that you will need to save it as a FBX file, as a single FBX file. And some scenes, depending on how large they are, it may cause the program to crash if scenes are too large. So unfortunately, what you're stuck with right now is kind of importing small scenes, or else importing props separately, and then assembling them again once you're in iClone6. You can go ahead and import scenes like I mentioned, but if they're super high polygon scenes, iClone is a real-time engine, so it may have trouble handling those sorts of things. So I'd recommend going and decimating your models so they're low poly. Okay, so Pierre asks, can you look at your scene in multiple angles at the same time? That's a good question, Pierre. Let's go ahead and talk about our mini viewport. So If you wanted to add a camera in your scene, you can just go to Create and Add Camera up here. So then we are currently in our camera view, and we have a preview camera and a regular camera. So say, for example, we want our camera to be focused on this lion's head, for example. So this is where we want our camera to be focused on. It's kind of maybe panning this way or something like that. What I can do is press F8, and that will launch my mini viewport. And in my mini viewport, you can see I have my preview camera right here, and I can change this to camera, and I can change this to preview camera, and then I can move around like this, and see what's happening. If I press play, you can see what's happening from this view and from that view. So again, that hotkey is F8 for your mini viewport. You can also go up here to Window and Mini Viewport, F8 right there. So that's a pretty useful thing to use. And okay, so Zane's asking, where is the animation? If you want some tutorials on animation, we have some on our YouTube channel, or you can also feel free to email me, kai@reallusion.com. We have a ton of animation tutorials out on YouTube, but if you're stuck on any particular questions, feel free to email me as well. Again, that's kai@reallusion.com, kai@reallusion.com. Okay, and I think we're pretty much out of time here, so I'm going to just end this webinar right now. Like I mentioned, guys, fill out those surveys, and we'll get you that copy of the training DVD. And thanks for watching, everyone. We're going to sign off right now, and make sure you check out our YouTube channel. If you're interested in joining our competition, you can go ahead and do that, and enter for your chance to win a bunch of money. So again, that's about it. And good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. And I'll see you guys next time.